It's time for Q&A in the Kitchen. It's a podcast and YouTube series where tattoo artists and a piercer talk about some of the more common questions that those that collect tattoos and those that do them in piercings and etc. may have. Brought to you in part by Skin Kitchen Tattoo and the Axiom Body Piercing Studio. Today we're going to talk about a pretty common question or topic. Oops, I got a tattoo that isn't very good and it's in a very visible spot. How do I find it? Or how do I hide it?
Yeah,
Belt
finding
sander.
it's usually the easy
Pretty
part.
easy. So we're going to or cover it up or hide it. First off, I'll talk about who's here today. Over there on my right, your left, is Jimmy St. John, tattoo artist at the Skin Kitchen. Right directly next to me is Jack Lowe, tattoo artist and owner of the Skin Kitchen Tattoo. My name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and own the Axiom and operate it, I guess. And then over here is Brent, Starr, tattoo artist at Skin Kitchen Tattoo. So I guess basically the whole question is you got a tattoo, you're not happy with it, or it's offensive, or it's just not good, and it's in a very visible spot. How can you hide it or cover it up?
You know, I just had a interaction with a young man, not like that. Anyway, came in and he has this. Well, at first it was really beautiful. I had beautiful parts going on. I had a really gorgeous rose at the lower half, and then there was this lion above it, and mane flying around, and it was the rose was just beautiful, and the lion was a bit out of perspective was a bit off. It was just a little wonky, and part of the reason was it was of the location and the way it kind of landed on his arm, and then guy put a crown on it and the styles didn't match. Like if you looked at individual pieces of the tattoo, it was gorgeous. I mean, it had some really nice work in it, but there were enough areas and placed right to where it wasn't enough to really overcome the whole piece and go, yeah, it's great,
And I'm guessing it was distracting to see the crap that didn't work.
Yeah, it's sad because it's so close, in a way, but the things that were done to make it not quite there are really hard to fix. So he's just heartbroken over it. You can tell, talking to him that if he could, he would rip it off. Mm-hmm. He's just,
that sucks.
Yeah, man, he's broken up over it. Like, got kind of on the edge while we were talking, and the kid, he's like a younger 20-year-old, kid. Man, sorry. Yeah, age sucks. But anyways, so in talking to him, I think one of the reasons he got himself into that pickle was in his mind, he wants to get a sleeve.
Yeah.
But doesn't realize that there's a kind of a process to that sleeve. It's, it's like watching any kind of do-it-yourself show or We Build Cars show or anything like that. Midway through, it looks cool and neater than it was, but if you stopped here, that would suck.
Yeah.
You have to remember that you're in a process moving towards the final goal, which is a sleeve. So judging it as it's getting there it has to look great and perfect all in all these stages, well, it's unrealistic.
Yeah.
You have to throw stuff at the wall to mold it and to get it to look right, and that a tattoo, depending on how it's done, can go through a lot of really kind of not so great stages, right? Mm-hmm. So because one of the things that was bugging him was how the mane kind of came off his arm and it kind of ended here. So like from Brent's point of view, you're just kind of seeing this blob of mane and it just looks ugly from that perspective. Well, yeah, right now, because that's all there is to catch your eye on your arm. Once your sleeve is finished and your arm is all balanced out and it's one piece of art, you're not going to have that black spot. It's going to be a darker part of a whole picture. So I think not having maybe that perspective or giving that leeway of this is a process. I went to this guy or girl and hired them to produce this piece of art. I'm not going to nitpick and judge the whole way. I'm going to trust my decision and my artist that when we get there, it's going to be awesome. You know, you got to kind of take that little leap of faith and understand that if you do have questions along the way, ask them. And usually, you know, like most things in life, you're doing it to yourself. If you just relax and let it go, trust yourself that, you know, you're in that commitment.
Stick it out.
Stick it out, you know.
And a lot of that comes down to having a very trusted and very experienced artist.
And how you find them is up to you.
And having that trust level with them. It's kind of like watching a plot unfold on a drama where somebody's got a plan, and it's not really always very visible exactly what the end result's going to be.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like a really, you know, in-depth political drama or spy thing of exactly what's going to happen. Yeah. And I think a lot of times, because a lot of people get one-offs, that they may go in and go, hey, I want a whole sleeve, and the guy's planning out or the gal is planning out that whole sleeve, and then they get one done, and that's it for like 10 years. And or
they're like, it doesn't really look like what I was thinking. Well, it's not even finished yet, man. Like,
or they'll try to switch to a different artist, and the other artist is looking at it going, I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't have the same artistic mind that person has.
I look at it, you know, as you have this photo in your mind. Most people or a lot of people can, you know, imagine what they want to see. Yeah. And it's up to you to translate that the best you can and highlight the points that are very important to you along the way before your artist goes, okay, let's do it. You know, so it's his or her job to ask the questions they need to know to make you happy, and it's your job to convey what you're seeing and what you want to them, and understanding that they can't see inside of your head. The only way they can understand that is by the words you use and how you say them. That's it.
And you have to stick with your idea. Like, you can't come in and say, I want a castle and a wizard and a medieval sleeve, and these are the things that are important. I want the castle, the wizard, and the dragon, you know, in this sleeve. Okay, cool. And they draw it up, and they come in and they go, I've decided I want like a samurai with a girl. And you got to stick with your decision. You can't go changing up, you know, your ideas in the middle of the process.
If you're going to do a Sega game thing, Sega.
Well, and why that is because, at least for me, when you come in, you give me your idea, and I'm seeing it, and I get excited about it, and I'm, oh man, this is going to be great. I can't wait to get going and draw it all up. And then you come in and go, well,
change my mind.
I was thinking this. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to get excited about this one because you're going to rip the rug out from under me anyway. Yep. So now my excitement level is a little bit dropped off. And just by the way the world works, you're not going to get that same art that you did that first time that, oh, man, we're going to get together on this and we're going to crush it. It's going to be fun. And then you're like, oh, no, just kidding, but this. And I'm like, dude, I don't trust you now. You know? Yeah. You're going to pull the rug out from under me, so I'm not going to put nearly the time into the drawing and into the, you know, coming up with it and getting excited and putting energy into it. I'm going to pull some energy back because you're not worth as much time because it could be wasted time. This person hasn't wasted my time yet. So if I have a choice, I'm going to work on theirs first and be like, well, they're going to change their mind anyway. Hopefully this time is what they want. So make sure that you know what you want and that you can convey what you want to that artist. And it saves a whole lot of those oopses or those regrets or, well, he didn't really do. Well, no, you both didn't do. Right. You didn't, you know, tell him or her, you know, the important parts or what you wanted well enough. And they said, I understand what you want, and didn't because, and now you're where you're at.
And like you're saying, you got to trust the process. I had a gentleman, you know, we're doing a whole back piece. It's a large cover up. I told him it's probably looking around 50, 60 hours by the time it's finished. You know, it's a whole back. And he's like, yeah, no problem, cool. So he schedules his time, but he only schedules about 2 to 3 hours at a time, which is very small on a large scale piece to get into it, you know. And then when he comes in, out of those 3 hours, he might sit an hour and a half total sitting time because it's, you know, every 15, 20 minutes. Can I go to the bathroom? Can I get up? I need a break. I need to stretch. I got to smoke a cigarette. I got to, you know, just on and on and on. So we've got about 7 to 8 hours total tattoo time in this back piece so far out of 60 hours. Yeah. And he goes, the last time he's in, he goes, I figured it'd look more like almost complete by now.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, we're 8 hours into a 60-hour drive.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't even left the state yet, dude.
And we're actually are planning on doing here a future episode talking just about that, like what really involves doing a project.
Yeah.
Right. But there are ideas with it.
And the accountability is a big part of it. You are a big, mover and shaker in this whole process. It's kind of like somebody gets murdered, but you're not the guy that murdered the guy, but you handed them the knife. You lured the victim to the house. Yes, you are accountable. Yeah. You are part of the process.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
And tattooing and piercing are exactly the same way.
Right.
We can't take full responsibility for everything that happens.
Yeah.
We'd like to.
Yeah.
We'd like to make every customer happy, but sometimes it doesn't happen. Plus, maybe you just had a terrible idea, and even though we gave you all these options to talk you out of it, and granted, there's been a few times over the years where I said, you know what, I ain't doing it.
Yeah, that's,
and sometimes it's kind of like, well, hey, I've got 20 minutes. Let's just do this. Yeah. And then get this person out of my life for
But a lot of times, like with some people, when you come in and they look at a line drawing per se, they don't see anything of what you drew because they don't have that kind of vision. They can't imagine it.
We have to guess about how much we have to develop it for you to see it. And sometimes we guess way short.
Yep.
And what can I tell you? Fucking trust me,
exactly.
man.
It's kind of the same way when we mark like a facial piercing.
But once you've started tattooing it or started piercing it, like you can't look and go, well, I still don't see it. Well,
that's not important
it's
right
not
now.
important right now. When it's finished, you will. But right now, you have to trust that we're doing what we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And like I said, it's like you were saying, it's, that main. That's all you can see right now. But once it's the rest of the stuff's behind it and it's got the background and the other parts in it, you won't even see that piece of main anymore.
So,
you know what I mean? It's just obsolete.
I had a similar situation with a gentleman that came in, and he wanted so he had it's about a quarter sleeve, and there was one part of the sleeve that he didn't like, and, I could see why. He had it covered up by a couple different artists, and in that kind of going to multiple artists, he still wasn't happy with what he had, and wanted to get it fixed. So, he came to us, and I talked to him, and, with Jack's help, he helped me figure out, something that could make it work. But I think maybe one of the issues was going to so many different people, trying to fix something and maybe just kind of dipping out, with each subsequent, because I was already like the fourth artist he talked to in this situation. So maybe
he's not doing it right.
Maybe if he kind of stuck with the original artist and stuck with their vision, maybe things would have been different, I think. Yeah. But kind of just abandoning that halfway through.
And all that or most of that can be solved by doing your research and finding the artist that you feel almost kind of already is headed your direction. Because every artist, you're putting your idea, not only are you, it's like when you make a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, right? So you have the original in your head, and that's as far as it's going to go, because you aren't able to manipulate anything to reproduce it, to show someone in physical form. So you have to use your words to convey it. So there's your first copy.
Yeah.
Well, then I receive it, and now I've got to decipher what that copy is. So now there's another copy of that copy that you gave me. So then I put it in there, and I put my guys to work on it, and my guys have a way of doing things, and so their work is recognizable. There's no getting out of it. If they try to make it look like someone else's, there's still those hints of their hands making it. So then it's got to go through my arm and come out of an apparatus into an iPad or most of the time, and there's your other copy. So you've got to realize you're going to be filtering your idea through a few times. So the better the artist you can find that is already kind of headed in your direction or has that look to their overall work that you like, then your idea combined with their work is going to produce the art. Unless you can bring me exactly what is going on in your head, you have to understand it's not going to be that.
Yeah.
There's no way it's going to be exactly that ever.
No,
until the government lets us borrow their apparatus that can see what you're thinking and we can print it out.
And even that is probably going to be a vague concept.
Exactly. Right. It's still going to be a copy of the original.
Because I have to say that personally, when I've gone in and worked with artists, and I worked with you, and I worked with quite a few other ones, usually when I came in, we talked through the design. I may have given them a couple of photos or maybe a really terrible drawing that I did, but the reality is that I had no complete picture of exactly what it was going to look like when it was finished. And the other thing is trusting your artist. That was the thing that kind of, when I first got tattooed, one of the things I didn't realize until I got tattooed is how, if you watch the process, nothing looks like it's going to be at the end.
Right.
Because, and you almost, like, I used to be amazed that when Sherry would tattoo my forearm, which is probably the one I watched the most, was she'd be working in there and it's just one giant blob of smeared ink and everything else. But yet she was doing all this very delicate work. And it was amazing to me that she could actually do that.
It's kind of like watching.
It's like if you're sitting there watching it, or you look at things through the process, which is one of the most common things. They get up for the break, they go over to the full length window or mirror, and the window into their souls, and then look at the tattoo, and then go back and make comments. Here, let's just.
Do you want to be doing your job that you do every single day for hours on end, and you've done that job for maybe 20, 30 years? Would you want someone who has no idea what you do standing there and questioning your every move?
No.
It's understood on their side that you're curious and everything else, but I know I make this look easy, but it does take
a lot.
Not only right now, but the hours and days that I worked on this, so get off my fucking back.
and also the period of time you train to gain that skill.
Yeah, and it's like watching, when you watch Bob Ross back in the day do a painting. Yeah. Like when he starts out, he's like, it's a bunch of smears and smudges, and you're like, what the hell's he doing? And then like the last 5 or 10 minutes of the show, it's like, boom, he pulls it all together with the highlight and this and the detail and the, where he's pulling together, and you're like, oh, man, that's awesome. Well, that's kind of like a tattoo. There's all this crap you're just kind of smudging in and smearing and sketching.
They tighten over.
And then you're refining it the whole time. You're working a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And then when you get to the end, it's like, boom. And they're like, oh, wow, that didn't... Now, that's great, but it didn't look anything like that until the last hour.
The plot has been revealed.
And do you think that painting would have come out the exact same if that canvas the whole time was going, man? What?
Are you sure this is going to be here?
What are you going to do there? I mean, what? This doesn't. Nope. Is that going to be that dark?
I don't take cadmium yellow that well, so
right. Do you think it's going to come out the same? I don't.
Let's say you didn't listen to anybody and you went and you got a tattoo done.
Yep.
That is absolutely horrendous, or it says things that are horrendous or that embarrass you, and it's on your forearm.
Now we know strategies how to not get in this situation, but if you don't believe us and you do it anyway.
Well, and here's one of the things: like if you decide that you want to get a tattoo covered up, all right, when you come and talk to us or another artist or whoever's going to do this job for you, you have to remember you've already made one mistake.
Yep.
Okay. So when you come in and go, well, I got this big black X on my forearm, and I'm thinking I want to put Jesus' face over that. That's not going to work. That big X is going to be on Jesus' face. He's going to look like some punk rock X-face guy, Yeah. So when the artist goes, that's not going to work. This is some of the things that will work. When we start giving you suggestions, you can do a wolf, you can do a bear, you can do an eagle, you can do, whatever it is we're suggesting. We're suggesting things that will work because you want that completely gone where you don't see it anymore. These are the things that I can make that happen with. You can't go, well, I want to cover up, but I only want it to be covered up with this. Like, I want my name covered up with another name. Okay, well, that's not possible.
And
dude.
if that's
I can't
the case,
bend reality.
And you have to go in that direction, and
then
that's
laser
where
it
you
off.
want to go. Laser it off.
Then laser it off.
That's the only option you have. Don't mess around with anything else.
There is no covering it up until
But DaVo, that's expensive. I don't want to do that.
Right, then you have to be willing to bend and be flexible with your options of what you're going to cover it up with.
Belt sanders and scarification are pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Belt sanders are cheap, but it leaves a hell of a scar.
Yeah. Well, really, if you got yourself in that position where you walk down that path, main thing you got to take from it is don't trust you so much. Yeah, I wouldn't listen to that guy quite so often, but yeah, it really depends kind of on why you got to have it gone, and because some people it's just the design, it just is kind of ugly and it just doesn't fit anymore, and
you've outgrown it or
okay,
whatever.
cool. So you want to go bigger and you want it to look like more like you were born with it, something that flows. Yeah, okay, great. That's a great starting spot because you're open, you want this thing to look beautiful, so do I. Cool, that's a good start. So, but if you come in and you're like, this thing is horrible, you need to make time reverse and make this like it didn't happen. Yeah. And, I can't do that, and that's just a simple answer. So any amount of time you try to bend reality and make that not reality, like I can just make it like it never happened, you're not gonna be satisfied.
No.
No one can satisfy that request. So you have to realize, hey, I'm here to help. I want to make you happy. When I tell you something you don't want to hear and how reality works, you can't convince me out of it.
Yeah.
It's just
The way it
reality.
is.
Yeah, you can tell me you want a portrait all day, but a portrait is not going to cover up tribal.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But I have
Doesn't
this
mean how
picture,
many times you tell me.
Yeah.
And another hint would be is instead, like one of the most common things I hear when people have tattoos and piercings that they're not happy with is, well, I was out with the boys or out with the girls and everybody was getting it done and we were on vacation and I got this done and it's terrible.
Doesn't sound
and
like a
blah,
good
blah,
idea
blah.
for doing a tattoo. but
Is
okay.
maybe to consider if you're one of those people that's really concerned about getting this done and having a mistake, especially if it's in a very visible area like your forearms
don't do
or
it in
your
that
face
situation.
or your neck, is set up an appointment. Go in and do a consultation with a person.
Yeah.
Take your time.
Yeah.
The chances are is that studio is going to be there in 5 or 6 months or a month from now, and you're going to be here. So the chances are is you're going to be able to get tattooed by that people or those people.
Yeah.
And if it isn't there in 5 months, there's probably a reason for it, and it's a good thing, and you may have, ducked a problem.
If your group has come up with an idea while y'all are all on a vacation of like something cool to remember it by,
The regret is half the fun.
you don't have to get it done right there, right then on the spot.
Yeah.
Take the idea home to your trusted artist where you're from, where you have time, like you're saying, to do a consult, talk to them, line it up. All of you guys can come to the same person or use different artists. It does not matter.
Yeah, it doesn't
But
matter.
once you're back home, there's no pressure of we're only vacation for like 8 more hours. We got to get these done now.
Well,
Like,
and
you know what I mean?
understand then that, and if you do go ahead and get it and then go swimming in the ocean, you've got to realize that it's not really about how the tattoo looks. It's that memory that's etched.
The
It's,
experience.
it looks like shit, but that's part of the part
but
of
we
the
had the
point.
best time that day. You know,
Right.
We had a story.
So it's locking in those memories, and hey, it obviously looking back, floating above that situation, looking down, that was a stupid decision. But again, that is part of the fun. That's part of the reason that you got that tattoo.
And maybe consider doing it somewhere where it's easy to cover it up with clothing.
Yeah. Which is always maybe on the
back.
cheek, like you're at the fair. Not so good.
Forehead, man. I like the
Like all the
forehead.
kids running around with the temporary tattoos.
Right.
Well, we used to do it at Sturgis. We used to get we'd always come up with a little shop tattoo, remember?
Yeah.
At the different, because there was 3 or 4 shops that we all, the guy that we worked for had. And we would all come up with our own little design or something that kind of represented our trip together that year. And we would all get these little like banger tattoos before it was over. And it was just like a fun thing to do.
A charm
And we,
bracelet
Yeah, we would
tattoo.
all trade off and like, you do mine, I'll do yours, you do his, and he'll do yours. And, it was just a lot of fun. And it was like that last little seal of, man, this was a great trip this year. I can't wait to see you guys next year.
There's
you
there's no scrapbook or picture book that can really lock in those things like a tattoo can, you know.
Or a piercing.
Yeah, exactly that.
That's a snapshot of time.
Yeah. So, hey, did you get gangrene? No. Did you heal? Yeah. Does it look the best? No. But of course it doesn't, you know?
But that memory is going to last forever.
Yeah, but those things about that tattoo are what reminds you of where you were mentally then, and it kind of it takes you back a little better. But so just keep in mind, why are you getting this tattoo? How important is it that it looks as close to this as humanly possible and convey that to you.
And I think that we all have kind of that hilarious tattoo story of the bad tattoo we got.
Those are the best ones.
And
the
those
best
are
stories.
usually when a bunch of us get together, like collectors. Maybe not so much now as it used to be, but it used to be like that's the thing we would talk about: our ugliest tattoo,
Yeah.
or our worst experience.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or, hey, there was this, I was almost got tattooed by this guy that kept pig anuses in a jar. That kind of stuff was really what we would talk about.
And which I didn't think was a big deal, but then when he was rinsing his machine in that jar, like, wait a minute.
Formaldehyde, it's got to be,
You're Jerry, right? No, I'm Barry. Oh, I left something in my car.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
that
I'll be back.
Nancy or Larry?
Yeah. So yeah, if you're looking at, hey, you hated, 7-legged bugs and you were part of an organization that just squished all the bugs and you got that logo on your neck and now you love bugs. Yeah, laser the sucker to death,
Political tattoos tend to be like I have one cover up on me and it's a political tattoo. It's not something I don't totally disagree with, but it was kind of weird
not
to
worth
have
the feedback.
on me. Yeah. Which would I would get occasionally.
Right.
Because it was just low enough that people would pull up my t-shirt sleeve to see what
Right.
the lesson of it. And it was my first tattoo. And I was, 18 and stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he didn't make good decisions yet.
Yeah.
So the other thing, basically, what I generally tell people when they've asked me is, I'm like, well, you have kind of three options. If it's a tattoo that you can live with, that day-to-day life is not going to affect you, but you have a professional situation where you can't have that visible, look into cover-up makeup that you can get at most for the.
What was it, Derma Blend or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to have to use that when I lifeguarded.
It's something, that you have to do
tattoos.
temporarily. It's used by a lot of actors.
Yep.
So generally, if you ask a theatrical shop or someplace that caters to actors, they're going to at least know where to get it.
Yeah.
That guy, Zombie Boy, Rick, I can't remember his whole name, but he used to look like a skeleton skull.
Yeah.
He was in a couple movies and whatnot, and he had there was a tutorial used to be online of the liquid makeup and stuff they would do, and it took hours, but they would make him look like he had no tattoos whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
He
was
was
pretty
really
incredible.
ugly.
And
I thought he was awesome.
when you got
No,
married,
when they took the tattoos
Oh
off.
yeah, I was like, whoa,
He was
no wonder you
hideous.
tattooed it.
when you got married to Erica, didn't she cover her back?
Yeah, and we went to the theatrical shop because women are weird with their weddings. Like, I don't want that in my wedding photos. Like, why?
It's
You
part
don't
of
want it
dude.
to be you in the photos, or I don't get it. Anyway, so she had a giant demon skull on her back. I had done, and for some reason didn't want it on her wedding photos.
I don't know. It
Chicks.
gets hot when you're in church and stuff.
Right.
It's
So
dangerous.
anyway, went to the theatrical shop and they had this stuff, and it was like this little jar, and I'm thinking, no, you don't understand. It's her whole back, and her dress like went. Whoop.
Yeah.
So anyway, little jar, little wedge, foamy makeup thing, and it was like erasing it. You could not
That's
tell
wild.
she had a tattoo at all, and that was 25, 30. I mean, it was a long time ago.
And I could guarantee you they've made it.
I bet
Yeah.
it's getting better now. Yeah.
Especially the number of actors that you'll see them in a movie or actresses.
Or sorry, go on.
Yeah, that are tattooed and then they don't have them.
Yeah, like flesh colored, pull on little sleevey things. I guess you just have to make a decision. Is that worth the maintenance and the time to do that to get me where I need, or is it going to be better off lasering it or getting it physically removed? And there are really good options these days. From what I understand, with laser removal.
Yeah.
It's just like tattooing, though. There's some people
It
that'll
hurts.
fuck it up, and there's some people that'll crush it.
Yeah.
So it's up to you to find somebody who knows what they're doing.
And since it's more widespread, it's actually going to get cheaper and cheaper.
Yep.
over
Yeah,
time.
it's definitely come way down since you
Yeah, it's
first
come
started hearing about
along.
laser removal. It's come down a lot. There's a lot more competition in that market now because of so many more tattoos getting done. So, if you haven't checked into it in a long time and you've told yourself it's completely out of my price range and just unreachable, it might not be. Check in again and look around, because those places seem to come up and be around, and then
Yeah.
they're gone. They switch around, and
People
but-
retire.
But just
Yeah.
like your tattoo artist, do your research.
Exactly.
When
Talk
you
to-
search out something.
Ask for referrals. It's always best to ask for
Yeah.
referrals.
and portfolios.
The other thing I want to bring up is if you are planning on, you're like, okay, I just don't like the tattoo design, or I have issues with this tattoo, but I don't, I want to be tattooed here, is to set up a consultation with an artist that you want to work with, come in with concept ideas, and come in and approach it. If you like the design idea, talk to them about reworking it. Because a lot of times I've seen you guys do wonders on stuff that looked terrible. And by the time just some proper shading, maybe adjusting some of the line work, maybe thickening it up and et cetera, it looked really, really nice. So I think a lot of people think that, oh, I've got this terrible lion's head on my forearm. The only thing I can do is cover it up with a giant sunflower. That there are other options with possibly reworking. But I always suggest setting up a consultation. There's no way you're going to be able to walk in someplace and get a cover up the same day as the walk-in.
And
what
you're
gonna like.
And what people might not realize, because when I mentioned this during consults and stuff, a lot of people kind of raise their eyebrows like, oh yeah, is you don't have to go get laser removal and get it completely gone.
Yeah.
Sometimes a few sessions to lighten it up can really open up your options of what you can cover it with, how big the cover up has to be. It's really the tough part about a cover up is usually the hard edges, the contrast hard edges. So usually, if you've got a name and they used a big old 8 round to plow it in, those big thick lines want to jump right through stuff. The less true black there is with a hard edge on it, the easier it's going to be to cover. So, there's some times where you'll have a tattoo this big, but to really cover it, I've got to go 4 to 5 times bigger to hide it. And then there's other times where the tattoo can be that big and I can cover it in that much space. Yeah. It just depends on what's going on underneath. Yeah. So if you've got that little guy and I need to go this big, well, if you got laser done, we could go this big and have all these other options of ideas of things to do. So, laser doesn't have to be as expensive as you think.
Would you suggest that they have a consultation with their tattoo artist before they go out and get the laser?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So you kind of get a game plan of, this line right here we need to hit kind of hard, and this one maybe not as much.
And that's a good point, because you might have this big old tattoo, but you might have these key spots that are kind of screwing you when it comes to cover up. You might only need this area and then this area, not the whole thing. Right. So that may also, when you're talking with your removal therapist, that they may go, oh, okay, I'll do this many sessions for this much or whatever. Right. Every situation is different, and every person that does removal probably is comfortable with different things. So, look around and maybe consider it as an option if you've completely put it on the shelf.
And remember to stay open-minded.
And
flexible with your ideas.
Yeah.
Like you can't come in set on, this is all I want to cover it up. If we can't cover it up with this, I'm going to make another bad decision.
If you're floating in the ocean, and you're really hungry and a helicopter comes to pick you up, don't bitch about the color of the helicopter.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just here to get you out of the water. If this wasn't happening right now, it wouldn't affect my life at all.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know I was missing it. You probably would miss it if I wasn't here. Be realistic. I'm here to help. I want you to live, but it might be a bumpy ride. We might not drop you off exactly at your house, but we'll be close enough that when we get there, you'll be alive and you'll get home.
It's pretty important.
So
it's here to help you.
Yeah, and if you go to a reputable place, they're not going to convince you to do something that isn't in your best interest.
Right.
They're not going to tell you when you're here to grab your money. They're not going to try to get you in a worse position just to get your money. They want to make you happy. They want to sustain their reputation. So although they might not be exactly right, or maybe somebody else could do what you're asking, they don't feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
They, if they're not seeming right and you kind of have to twist their arm, it's a bad idea.
Yep.
Yeah, and I see people kind of saying enough to where you said that right there out of this 2 hours, you did say that. So, all right, I'm off the hook now, because there's no chance that it's going to come out like that, but you said it would, so at least I have a spot to bitch, and it's not my fault that it's fucked up. No. That's so how do you win?
Like
you
I
know,
said,
you're just like,
I only,
"Meow."
I only brought the knife, and you know, I lured the guy over. I didn't murder him.
Yeah.
Well, you're
I
getting
was
a
just in the
cover-up.
room.
Yeah,
Most times
exactly.
you're getting a cover up because you didn't listen the first time.
Or you listen to yourself,
Yeah, you
and
went
you
on-
shouldn't.
didn't make any difference what they were saying. You're like, this is where we're going to do it, and this is what I'm going to do. Cool. Okay, well, you got it. Now it sucks. So you got to listen to get out of it.
And that's-
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we'll talk a little bit more, I think, in the next one about how to communicate with your artist when you're not happy.
yeah.
That's gonna be our
Yeah.
next subject. But yeah, don't be afraid to, if they start giving you clues that they're not quite sure, they go, hey, it's your body.
Yeah.
It might be a time to go, yeah, maybe this isn't
Yeah.
my number one choice.
There
feel
are
like
some people out there that should not be tattooed. You know,
Yeah.
it's just not for everybody.
Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah.
true. That's exactly true. There are those people that they really think they want one for whatever reason, their own reasons.
Until they get it.
But
Yeah.
you're just not one of the people that can do this.
The undecisive flip floppy.
Yeah. If you have a hard
there.
time making your mind up about anything in life or most things in your life, tattoos probably aren't for you because they're pretty like
They're
they're lasting.
permanent.
Does
Well,
regret
they're
keep you
they
up
last
at night?
as long as you do.
You can't go into court and get divorced from your tattoos.
No,
Yeah.
you can get laser or belt sanders, and belt sanders hurt like hell and scar. So.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody asks me the question, I can't choose between, whatever, pizza or burgers.
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever.
Yeah,
The
me
first
too.
one. You know,
Yep.
it
Pick
doesn't
one.
matter. Just pick one.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But with a tattoo, it might.
It
Yeah.
matters a lot.
It might. Yeah.
It
And
might.
some people it don't.
And that's the difference between that kind of person that can't really make
yeah.
that decision
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
somebody who gets tattooed. Because
And a good
we're
artist will
obviously-
see people
Yeah.
that are that type because they'll ask the questions that
yeah.
they get the answers they need and go, yeah, you're not ready and I'm not your guy, and avoid it. So that falls just as much on the artist as it does the client. You got to understand who you are and, think of the all possible outcomes and how
Yeah.
that's going to affect you and all that. So, research your freaking guy, man.
Sorry, Roger, you tiger now. You know?
Yeah.
Ask questions.
Yeah, and ask questions.
I've seen that happen. Girl come in like, I want, family, friends, family, friends, family. And the artist is like, put the stencil on 7 or 8 times going back and forth. And then they're like, okay, we're going to do family. Family's what we're going to do. We're going to do family. And they put the family on. They tattoo it. And they go, well, I think I wanted friends. Too late, dude.
Yeah.
We have tattooed it. You want family and friends? Because we can do both.
We can add
But
on
you,
to
you
that.
can't keep changing your mind while we're tattooing you.
There's a
Your
lot-
time changes. You're past that point.
And everybody from the artist standpoint and from the tattoo, the person getting tattooed, goes through at least that first tattoo. It's like, well, I kind of want this, and then I kind of want that.
Yeah.
I kind of want this, or I want to do this to this tattoo and add this.
Yep.
Really, what you're doing is you're slowly but surely coming up with additional ideas for future
for other tattoos.
Yep.
And I always get a kick out of like customers I've had for a long period of time. When they come and they get that first little tattoo or whatever, they're so, can you move it like a millimeter and can you this way and this and can we just change the size by like just a hair?
I know you're stalling,
And then when you get the tattoo, by the time you've tattooed like a sleeve on them, they're just like, yeah, man, just stick it, however you think it should go, and blah blah blah. They've come so far.
Yeah.
From like I got to control every nuance.
Yeah.
To just I
It's
trust
so
you, man,
nice
I'm
to
gonna go
see.
to sleep.
And
Just do it.
see, and I don't know how many times I've pierced a septum and the person gets up and looks in the mirror and goes, "Oh, it's crooked."
You're
And I'll
swelling.
like go, "Come here."
Boop. Yeah.
Now
Now
look.
look.
Oh,
right.
And when
It's
some of
like,
that swells,
you have to trust your artist.
Yeah,
I'm
like let
sorry.
it do its thing, man. It's gonna settle right. Just chill.
Yeah, and sometimes realize that the reason that you're questioning it is because you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
not
Yeah.
because you know. So don't ask a question like you're doing that wrong. It puts weird vibes in
Yeah,
the
man.
air and causes this distrust, and then you end up with something you're not real happy with. And then when you start bouncing around to artists, the artist sees you as this person bouncing around, and they're okay, I'm the next guy, and it's hard. You're putting yourself in a trickier spot. I
It's
think.
kind of like old relationships.
Yeah.
If you kind of encounter somebody that goes from, there are people that collect from artists,
Yeah.
Which is great.
which
Right,
is
it's awesome.
fantastic. I
But when
think
it's the same one,
but when it's just the same thing and you're just bouncing all over the place, it's kind of like meeting somebody and you're on the first date and you're talking about their exes and you realize they've been
always
with like
their fault.
28 people in the last 2 years.
And it's always the ex's fault.
And it's always their fault. You know damn well that you are in a relationship that is not going to last.
that's going to be your fault.
They were crazy.
Right. Well, it's when you tattoo like a full color piece on people and they go out and they look at it, and everybody bleeds when you get tattooed because you're opening the skin, you're opening the pores. That's how a tattoo works. So you'll do like yellows and whites and stuff when you're finishing this color tattoo, and they'll go, I didn't want orange or pink. Like, it's not orange and pink. Yellow with red blood in it makes orange.
Yeah.
White with red blood in it makes pink.
Why is he looking
And it's not going to stay that color. It's going to lighten up to the color it's supposed to be. But right now, while you're bleeding in it, it's going to change the color.
There's a
Why did you put all
process.
that capillary detail in his eyes, though? Because
Yeah.
now he looks like he's stoned.
Yeah, he didn't
I didn't want
smoke.
that.
Didn't you want it veiny and ugly? Man.
Yeah, it's a process. You don't get the finished result until a couple
not
of weeks,
instant, yeah.
month, maybe 2 months in some cases
Some
down the road.
cases.
Yeah, and it's funny how some people like think that like the whole the bumps and the raises.
Yeah.
It's 3-dimensional. I thought it was so much better that it's like no, it wasn't healed.
It was.
I had a guy ask me that one
It
time.
was
He's like,
trauma.
all my friends' tattoos are raised up. Can you make mine be raised up? I'm like, not on purpose, dude. That's scarring.
Yeah,
No.
that's
Might happen during
bad.
the healing
That's
process,
bad.
but after that, if it stays,
Well,
not good.
Like
Yeah.
everybody's got some ink that like your body's constantly fighting your
Yeah.
tattoos.
Yeah.
From the time you get them until you die. Your body is trying to expel that tattoo because it's a foreign object in your body.
Yep, same thing
Sometimes,
with
like
piercings.
for whatever reason, when I'll go out in the sun or something, I have certain tattoos that are done beautiful. There's no scar tissue in them, but they'll raise up or they'll itch a little bit and raise
Yeah.
up. It's your body trying to attack that part right this minute. It'll settle down. It'll leave it alone. But
and just like with piercings, if it thinks that it can at that moment agitate you enough to remove it,
Yeah,
it'll do
right.
it. That's why it'll get
Absolutely.
agitated and start trying to. Something happens like sunlight or trauma or you get slapped in that
Allergens.
spot.
something has put extra emphasis on that spot. For
I
whatever
think we should stop avoiding the gorilla in the room and just state it. We know it's alien DNA. You don't belong here.
Yeah. You and the lizard.
It's counteracting with
up.
your alien. You're a lizard
Yeah.
person, and you probably don't know.
we probably loosened the scale, and now it's popping up a little bit.
You got a little
the
ingrown
lizard
scale
guy.
going on.
Yeah,
Sorry.
they'll fix it at the
All right.
reptile.
I saw you eyeballing my pet gerbil. Don't think I'm fooled.
Puppy eaters.
I got to keep out for rides.
All right,
with you and
are we
Richard
done
Gere.
now?
I
feel like we're done.
I think we've got
talking about
this about as
Did we
close
beat
as far as we can. We've
Yeah.
beaten it to death. So,
Fucking lizards.
the lizards. Till next time, here's hoping all your tattoos and piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, we all hope to see if you're tattooing and body piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you for watching or listening. We'll see you in the next episode.
Be good, guys.